And it didn't hurt that my wife has lived an incredibly regimented life since she was a little kid. So she's been an amazing influence.
Alexis Ohanian, usually calm and composed, broke down in tears when an unexpected diagnosis shattered his world. What was supposed to be a routine health check turned into a nightmare, revealing a devastating illness that threatened everything he held dear. As his world crumbled, Serena Williams stood by his side. Could they overcome this heartbreak and rebuild their lives? The journey that followed would leave you breathless. Building a life together. They didn't plan it. They didn't see it coming. In May 2015, Serena Williams, one of the world's most celebrated tennis champions, was sitting at a hotel cafe in Rome during the Italian Open. That's when Alexis Ohanian, co-founder of Reddit, unknowingly sat down at the table next to her. She joked there was a rat nearby to get him to move, but instead of walking away, he stayed. That small moment turned into a spark neither of them expected. And just like that, a love story began where the court met the keyboard. Over the next year, their relationship quietly blossomed. They kept it low-key, yet deeply personal. Alexis didn't come from the sports world, and Serena loved that. He didn't try to compete with her spotlight. He stood beside her, proud and grounded. In December 2016, Alexis proposed at the very hotel where they first met, with a table for two and a poem in hand. Serena later wrote a poem of her own to share the news, saying, "I came home a little late. Someone had a bag packed for me. And at the same table we first met by chance. This time he made it not by chance, but by choice. It wasn't flashy. It was full of heart." On November 16, 2017, they tied the knot in New Orleans with a Beauty and the Beast themed wedding, full of joy, elegance, and magic. But it wasn't just about fairy tales. The date meant something deeper. Alexis chose it to honor his late mother's birthday. That decision told Serena everything she needed to know about the man she married. "He's thoughtful in a way that speaks through actions," she once said in an interview. Guests included Beyoncé, Kim Kardashian, and Anna Wintour, but for Serena and Alexis, the most important part of that day wasn't the fame. It was the foundation. Only 2 months before the wedding, they had welcomed their first daughter, Alexis Olympia Ohanian Jr. The birth wasn't easy. Serena had faced life-threatening complications. Alexis later shared that watching Serena fight for her life made him even more in awe of her strength. He took 16 weeks of paternity leave, saying, "It was never a question. My job was to be there." He didn't just talk about gender roles. He broke them. He changed diapers, rocked the baby to sleep, and made it clear that fatherhood wasn't a side job. It was the job. Their family grew again in August 2023 with the birth of their second daughter, Adira River Ohanian. In the midst of balancing Serena's global fame and Alexis's tech ventures, they made a rule: family comes first. They often shared glimpses of quiet mornings, dance parties in the kitchen, and bedtime stories. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Serena once said, "Marriage is not bliss, but it can be if you work at it." She wasn't shy about the effort love requires, and neither was Alexis. One of the most touching gestures came when Serena casually mentioned craving Italian food. Alexis didn't just order takeout. He flew her to Venice. It wasn't about money. It was about listening, about choosing love every day. "We don't always agree, but we always respect," Alexis said. That's how they kept the spark alive, through loyalty, laughter, and a shared belief that they were stronger as a team. Through every high and low, They were each other's anchor. Their careers soared, their family grew, and their bond deepened. Alexis once wrote, "Serena is the greatest athlete ever, but she's also the greatest mother, partner, and human I know." Fans saw the glamour, but behind closed doors, they were just two people trying to make life work, one moment at a time. Their life was happy. Their rhythm was smooth. They had weathered storms and come out stronger. But they never saw what was coming. Something unexpected was about to turn their world upside down. The unexpected disease diagnosis. It was supposed to be a regular visit, a blood test here, a checkup there. No complaints, no visible symptoms. Alexis was in good shape, active, and had no reason to worry. But one test showed abnormal markers, small signs that the doctor couldn't ignore. Further blood work and a follow-up exam revealed something completely out of left field: Lyme disease. "I thought they had the wrong chart," Alexis said. "I haven't been camping. I haven't been hiking. I couldn't remember the last time I was near a tick." The diagnosis didn't just confuse him, it completely stunned him. Lyme disease is caused by bacteria transmitted through the bite of infected black-legged ticks. It's usually linked to rural, wooded areas, and Alexis had spent most of his recent months indoors or in urban environments. What made it more confusing was the fact that he had none of the textbook symptoms. No fever, no fatigue, no bullseye rash. "I felt completely fine," he told People in a later interview. "And yet, here I was, being told I had a disease I associated with wilderness and long hikes." But doctors explained that not everyone with Lyme shows symptoms right away. Some cases lie dormant, others are silent until they aren't. Alexis found himself stuck between logic and instinct. Part of him thought maybe it was a false positive, another health scare that would blow over. But another part, the one that remembered Serena's complications during childbirth and the pain of almost losing her, told him to take it seriously. It was one of those moments where you think, what if this becomes worse? And that's all it takes when you're a parent, he admitted. Despite feeling healthy, Alexis chose to start antibiotic treatment immediately. It wasn't easy, there were side effects, and at times it felt like he was treating a ghost. But he wanted to be sure. For his daughters. For Serena. Serena stood by him every step of the way. Though she's a world-class athlete used to fighting battles on court, this was different. "I've seen what Lyme can do," she said in a podcast. "I had close friends in tennis lose seasons. Some almost lost their careers." She understood that ignoring something just because it wasn't visible could be dangerous. Their family routines shifted. Alexis reduced travel, prioritized rest, and began attending more medical follow-ups. Serena handled more of the chaos at home to give him time to heal. Together, they faced it like they did everything else, as a team. Their openness about the diagnosis sparked conversations online. Many fans were shocked. How could someone like Alexis get Lyme without even realizing it? That's exactly why he chose to speak up. "I want people to understand that this disease doesn't always come with warnings. It doesn't always knock loudly," he wrote in a social media post. "Sometimes it sneaks in and waits. The only reason I caught it early was because I was paying attention." The diagnosis brought more than just medication. It brought a new level of caution, gratitude, and unity. Alexis began advocating for better awareness of Lyme disease and pushed for more accessible testing. He urged others to listen to their bodies, even when everything seems normal. And at home, he and Serena became even more protective of their daughters, avoiding certain areas, using repellents, and educating themselves on early warning signs. From the outside, everything looked fine. But behind the photos, behind the social media smiles, they were navigating a quiet health war. And while Lyme disease didn't knock Alexis off his feet physically, it reminded them both how fast life can shift. They had thought the thyroid cancer scare was behind them. But this was something they didn't expect. And just when they thought they had made it through the storm, another shadow began to creep in, one that would shake them deeper than anything before. Whispers of thyroid cancer returning, louder this time. The thyroid cancer scare. The Lyme disease diagnosis had barely settled when Alexis Ohanian found himself facing a deeper, older fear. The thyroid nodules that had been quietly monitored for 4 years were now back at the center of his life. Just weeks after starting treatment for Lyme, his doctor brought up the latest scan results. One of the nodules had changed. It was subtle, but different enough to raise alarms. "We should consider a biopsy," the doctor said gently. Alexis felt like the ground shifted beneath him. "It felt like I was being hit from 2 sides," he admitted. "Lyme was invisible, and now this thing in my neck might be cancer." For years, Alexis had carried the burden of watching and waiting. The thyroid nodules first showed up in 2019 during a routine check. Small, suspicious, but non-aggressive. Doctors had told him not to worry, just to monitor. Every few months, he returned for blood work and scans, and every time, the nodules looked the same, until now. This time, the biopsy revealed something far more serious: cells that carried a high likelihood of malignancy. It wasn't cancer yet, but it was close. Too close. That word, likely, it haunted me, Alexis said in a podcast interview. I had a choice: wait and hope, or act before it got worse. That decision, surgery or not, wasn't easy. Alexis weighed everything: the risks, the timing, his recovery, and his young daughters. But he couldn't shake the memory of losing his mother to cancer when he was just a teenager. That memory had never truly left him. It shaped how he saw health, how he valued time, and how fiercely he loved his family. I thought about my mom every single day during that decision, he confessed. She didn't get a chance to choose, but I could, and I had to. With Serena's unwavering support, Alexis scheduled surgery to remove the affected part of his thyroid. The procedure happened in late 2023. It was a delicate operation, removing half the thyroid while preserving surrounding nerves. Serena was by his side throughout, waiting at the hospital and holding his hand before he was taken in. She's always been the strong one, Alexis later wrote, but this time, she let me lean on her. The surgery went well, and the post-operative results were sobering. Though the nodules hadn't turned into full-blown cancer yet, pathology showed they had high malignant potential. In short, if he hadn't acted, cancer was almost certain. It felt like dodging a bullet, but also staring at the gun, he said. Recovery wasn't just physical. Emotionally, Alexis was drained. The Lyme diagnosis had shaken him, but this cut deeper. His mother's battle with terminal cancer haunted every step of his recovery. She was 53 when she died. I was just a kid, he said. Now I have daughters. I can't imagine them growing up without me. That thought pushed him forward through the soreness, the fatigue, and the anxiety. He started sharing more about his journey online, not for sympathy, but to normalize the fear that so many quietly live with. To remind people that health isn't something to put off. When Alexis shared a heartfelt post on social media about the thyroid surgery and his family history, The response was overwhelming. Messages poured in from strangers who had faced similar scares, from parents who had delayed their own checkups, from young men who suddenly realized their invincibility was an illusion. "I didn't expect that," he admitted. "But I realized people don't talk about these things because they're scared. I was scared too, and I still am." He added, "I'm not afraid of dying anymore, but I'm terrified of wasting time." That new philosophy led him to take on unexpected projects. He began developing a wellness app, one that blends daily health tracking with mental well-being prompts and access to expert advice. "It's not just for people with conditions," he said in an investor pitch. "It's for people who want to stay healthy, who want to catch things early. People like me, before the diagnosis." The app was still in early stages, but insiders say it's one of the most personally driven ventures Alexis has ever led. In interviews, when asked if he considers himself a survivor, Alexis pauses. "No," he usually answers, "because I didn't beat cancer. I just didn't let it catch me this time." But there's a weight behind those words, a man who's seen how close that line can be, who understands now that survival isn't always about battle. Sometimes it's about being willing to look, to listen, and to act early. But just as Alexis began to feel the strength returning to his body and the calm settling over his home again, something else started happening. The story had gone public, and the world was watching, not just with support, but with questions. Curiosity began to rise. Why didn't he speak sooner? How many others are silently dealing with the same? The public reaction would soon become a story of its own. Public response and advocacy. When Alexis Ohanian publicly opened up about his back-to-back health scares, first Lyme disease, then a thyroid cancer scare, the response was more powerful than he could have imagined. What began as a quiet, personal battle had now become a shared story for thousands. His social media posts were raw and honest, not curated or polished. He talked about the fear, the uncertainty, and the guilt of being a father who almost didn't catch something in time. He wasn't looking for applause, but within hours, messages started pouring in. Some were from ordinary dads, thanking him for giving them the push to book that long-delayed checkup. Others were from cancer survivors who saw a bit of their own story in his journey. Many were from men who admitted they'd never even considered getting a thyroid scan. The response went viral fast. Alexis's post about his thyroid surgery was shared by thousands. The comments weren't just likes and emojis. They were full of stories. A father in Michigan shared how he discovered a lump in his neck after reading Ohanian's story. A young man from Brazil said he booked a blood test for the first time in 5 years. Women tagged their husbands and brothers saying, "Read this, seriously." One line from Alexis's post stuck with everyone. "You don't have to feel sick to be sick, and you don't have to wait to act." Celebrities took notice too. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who lost his own father to a sudden health issue, reposted Alexis's story with the caption, "Strength isn't about silence. Real strength is facing the hard stuff out loud." Chris Evans and Ryan Reynolds, both advocates for men's health, amplified the message too, encouraging their millions of followers to get regular screenings. Even Serena's close friend Beyoncé quietly sent a message of love and support, according to one insider. "Your voice is saving lives." Talk shows and podcasts reached out to have Alexis share his story. He appeared briefly on The Daily Show, not to promote a brand or a product, but just to talk about fear. "There's this idea that men have to be invincible," he said. "But pretending nothing's wrong doesn't make you brave. It makes you vulnerable in the worst way. He also used humor, telling Trevor Noah, "I didn't even know where the thyroid was before this. Turns out, it's been quietly running my life." The audience laughed, but the message stuck. Alexis also took his advocacy a step further. He launched an online health campaign focused on early detection and awareness, especially targeting dads. The slogan was simple: check in, not out. The campaign included real stories from men who ignored symptoms, some who got lucky and others who didn't. It wasn't fear-mongering. It was about realism wrapped in empathy. He partnered with a few health tech companies to give away free screening kits and launched a limited-time health checkup reimbursement fund for low-income families. "If I can afford to help someone catch something early, then why wouldn't I?" he said in an Instagram video that gained over 2 million views in 2 days. What made his campaign unique was its tone. It wasn't doom and gloom. It wasn't medical jargon. It felt like a friend talking to another friend. "Hey, man, I almost missed something big. Don't be me, go check." It was that simple and that effective. Sports communities, especially among tennis and NBA fans, started sharing it widely. Athletes began sharing their own stories too, many revealing they had quietly dealt with similar health scares but never felt comfortable speaking about them. Health experts applauded Alexis's honesty. Dr. Maya Simmons, an oncologist at UCLA, said in a CNN segment, "When a high-profile figure like Alexis talks openly about early detection and surgery, it humanizes the process. It doesn't just help patients, it empowers them." Mental health professionals also noted how his journey helped break toxic notions of masculinity around illness. He didn't cry on camera. He didn't collapse. He just told the truth. "That's more powerful than 1,000 awareness posters," said therapist and author Nedra Glover Tawwab. Meanwhile, Serena stood by him through it all, not just as a wife, but as a symbol of enduring support. In a brief interview with Glamour, she said, "He's always been my biggest cheerleader. This time, I got to be his." Together, they started appearing at health fundraisers, not as stars, but as parents who simply didn't want anyone else to wait too long to get checked. As the months passed, Alexis continued his mission. But he also began stepping back into daily life. He returned to his tech ventures, spent more time coaching Olympia's mini tennis matches in the backyard, and resumed family walks with Serena and Adira. Life was slower now, more deliberate. His phone didn't ring as often, but he didn't mind. He found comfort in the ordinary. Morning coffee, bedtime stories, the quiet sound of his daughter's breathing. Through it all, he never labeled himself a hero. He was just a man who spoke up, and in doing so, he helped others find their voice too. The journey had changed him forever, not just in body, but in spirit. But now, with the world watching and the storm of diagnoses behind him, one question quietly lingered in his mind. What does life look like after the fear is gone? But the memory still lives on. Life after diagnosis. After the diagnosis, after the surgery, after the flood of messages and media attention, what came next for Alexis Ohanian was not fame or applause. It was silence and healing. Life after diagnosis wasn't dramatic or cinematic. It was slow mornings, new routines, and facing the quiet fear that sometimes crept in after everyone else had moved on. Ohanian's recovery journey wasn't just physical. It was mental, emotional, and deeply personal. The first few weeks post-surgery were challenging. Though the operation to remove his thyroid nodules had gone smoothly, there were the small but constant reminders that life had changed. The scar on his neck, though healing well, was like a quiet badge of survival. He had to take daily thyroid hormone replacements now, a pill every morning for the rest of his life. "It's a simple thing," Alexis said in an Instagram Live session, but it's also a daily reminder that something serious happened. That I can't take health for granted anymore. He also had to adjust his diet and energy expectations. He wasn't allowed to jump back into work full force, and that frustrated him. The man who once juggled tech startups and parenting had to learn to take naps. He had to step back. I used to see rest as weakness, he admitted. Now I see it as strategy, survival, sanity. But through all of it, his anchor was home, Serena and their daughters. From the start, Serena became his shield. While the world buzzed about his diagnosis, she created a quiet, healing space at home. She cooked more often, something she hadn't had time for in years. She made this vegetable soup that honestly tasted like medicine and love, he once joked. And when Alexis woke up in the middle of the night, anxious or sweating from hormonal fluctuations, she was there, just holding his hand, whispering, "You're okay." Their eldest daughter, Olympia, didn't understand the full weight of what her father had gone through, but she understood enough to be gentle. One morning, she brought him her favorite stuffed bunny and said, "He helps me sleep when I feel yucky." Alexis broke down in the hallway after that. "She didn't know it, but she was healing me more than any doctor," he later told People magazine. Even baby Adira, just a few months old at the time, became part of his recovery. Holding her reminded Alexis why he fought through the fear in the first place. "It's strange how a baby who can't speak can still tell you to live," he said in a podcast interview. Slowly, Alexis began walking again, first around the house, then around the block, then into his old office. But things were different now. He no longer checked emails before breakfast. He started keeping a gratitude journal. He made appointments for regular blood work without needing reminders. And he began turning down speaking gigs, no matter how high profile, if they cut into family time. "If something doesn't make my life feel lighter, I don't need it," he said. He and Serena also had more serious conversations about wills, about long-term health, about what they wanted for their daughters if either of them got sick again. It wasn't morbid, Alexis said. It was honest, and honesty keeps fear small. As time passed, life didn't return to normal. It shifted into something deeper, more present, more intentional. The tennis courts were still there, and the startup meetings still happened. But now, they were just parts of a bigger picture. A picture where health came first. Where love wasn't just in the big gestures, but in the everyday things. Packing Olympia's lunch together, cuddling with Adira before bed, eating that strange soup Serena swore was healthy. Through it all, Alexis never stopped talking about what happened. He continued his advocacy online, even as he rebuilt his private world. He knew that by keeping the conversation going, he wasn't just protecting himself, he was helping someone else begin. And now, with the storm behind him and his family close, Alexis often finds himself in moments of quiet joy, sitting in his backyard, feeling the sun on his skin, watching Serena laugh with their daughters. He knows this is the real miracle. Not surviving the diagnosis, but living fully after it. What next for the couple? For Alexis Ohanian and Serena Williams, the future is full of promise, but it's not without its challenges. After overcoming health scares, navigating intense moments of vulnerability, and coming out stronger as individuals and as a family, the couple has emerged with a renewed sense of purpose. Their journey is far from over, and what comes next for them is not just about bouncing back, but pushing forward, together. The physical recovery from surgery was just one part of the process. Mentally and emotionally, it took time to readjust. But despite the hurdles, Alexis has maintained a relentless drive to stay involved in the causes that matter to him. He's not just the co-founder of Reddit, he's now a vocal advocate for men's health, encouraging regular screenings and proactive care. His life has become a balance of family and his ventures, but with a clearer sense of priority. "I want to be around for my kids," he said in a recent interview. "I want to be healthy, and I want to help other men realize that health isn't something to take for granted." As for Serena, her journey has been one of constant evolution. From dominating the tennis world to transitioning into her role as a mother, businesswoman, and advocate for equality, Serena has handled it all with grace. But like her husband, she's faced her own set of health struggles, particularly after the birth of their first daughter, Olympia. The complications she experienced postpartum led to a series of health challenges that not only affected her physically but emotionally as well. "Motherhood was supposed to be a dream, but it became a nightmare with my health issues," she admitted in a candid interview with Vogue. Yet, even in the darkest times, Serena found strength in her family, her own resilience, and Alexis's unwavering support. Their shared experiences have only strengthened their bond. Now, the couple is stepping into the next chapter of their lives, with health at the forefront of their priorities. Serena continues to be an influential figure in sports and business, and her tennis career, though on hold, is far from over. Despite stepping away from the game to focus on her family, there's always the possibility that we'll see Serena return to the courts. "I'm not retiring from tennis, but I'm not rushing to make a comeback either," Serena said in an interview earlier this year. "When I do return, it will be on my own terms." Their daughters, Olympia and Adira, are a major focus for both of them. As parents, Alexis and Serena are committed to giving their children the best possible foundation, physically, emotionally, and mentally. While Alexis continues to grow his business ventures and Serena finds new ways to impact the world beyond tennis, they are united in their mission to be present for their daughters. "I want to raise strong, independent girls who know they can do anything," Serena shared in an interview with Harper's Bazaar. It's clear that their future prospects are centered around family and legacy, and the balance of personal, professional, and health matters will continue to shape their path forward. But the couple is also focused on the future of their public advocacy work. Alexis, having turned his health struggles into a platform for others, isn't slowing down. He's passionate about spreading awareness for conditions like thyroid disease and Lyme disease, and he's actively involved in raising funds for research and treatment. "I feel like I'm doing what I was meant to do," he said during a recent charity event. "If sharing my story helps one person make a better decision for their health, then I've done my job." Serena's activism has already extended far beyond tennis, and she's showing no signs of stopping. Whether through her business ventures, her work with the Williams Sisters Fund, or her advocacy for women's rights and healthcare, Serena is poised to continue making waves in a variety of fields. Both she and Alexis understand that their influence reaches beyond their professional lives. They are using their voices to create change, whether it's in the fight for gender equality or the promotion of preventative health care. Outro. What are your thoughts on Alexis Ohanian's heart-wrenching battle and incredible resilience? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to click on the cards on screen for more inspiring stories.